students. This is Nisharad Gautam, Associate Professor from the Department of Pharmacology, Lahore Institute of Pharmacy. Here I am going to deliver a lecture on pharmacology of drugs acting on cardiovascular system. That is your second unit. In this unit, I have taken the first chapter, that is drug used in the therapy of shock. This is a very big chapter, so I have divided this chapter into 5 parts. So today we will study the first part of this chapter, drugs used in the therapy of shock. So before study, we have to know the term shock. This term shock came from a French word, that is coq, that means push or impact. That was first published in 1743 by a physician Ledrain, by a belief that a symptom arose from fear or some other form of altered cerebral function is responsible for inadequate oxygen delivery to meet the metabolic demands of the body. This inadequate delivery of the oxygen is considered for the global tissue hypoperfusion, and which is responsible for metabolic acidosis. Then so many research are there, so many beliefs are there, and so many experiences are there, and so many proofs are there regarding the shock. It is believed that shock can occur with a normal blood pressure, and also hypotension can occur without shock. So point out this: hypotension can occur without the shock. Now, in short, shock is an abnormal physiological state resulting from widespread and serious reduction of tissue perfusion that, if prolonged, this condition is prolonged, it will lead to the generalized impairment of the cellular function. Now, what is shock? So, come to its definition. Shock is the physiological state which is characterized by significant reduction of systemic tissue perfusion, which resulting in the decrease in tissue oxygen delivery. This decreased tissue oxygen delivery creates an imbalance between oxygen delivery to the organ and the biological oxygen demand. In short, we can say it's an imbalance of oxygen delivery and oxygen consumption. So, according to the biological oxygen demand, there is no supply of the oxygen, or the less supply of the oxygen. This prolonged oxygen deprivation will lead to the cellular hypoxia and derangement of critical biochemical process at the cellular level, which can progress to the systemic level. So many biochemical processes get altered due to this deficiency or the lack of oxygen. Now, see the physiological response of the shock. We will see some physiological response in our body. Number one, that is the inadequate systemic oxygen delivery will activate our autonomic response, which will maintain the systemic oxygen delivery. Now come to the second point, that is the sympathetic nervous system. Noradrenaline, epinephrine, dopamine and cortisol release will cause the vasoconstriction, increase in heart rate and increase in cardiac contractility responsible for the cardiac output. Now the third point related with that of the kidney, renin-angiotensin system. Here what happens? Water and sodium conservation, water and sodium retention is there and vasoconstriction is there. So water and sodium retention is responsible for the increase in the volume and the vasoconstriction is responsible for the increase in the pressure. So finally what we will see, due to increase in the blood volume and due to vasoconstriction, there is an increase in the blood pressure. Now sequentially see, if insult is there, injury or infection is there, so consider this point infection. So due to this infection, local inflammatory reaction is there. Due to this local inflammatory reaction, there is a release of mediators, and due to this release of mediator, this released mediator will go to the systemic inflammatory response. This systemic inflammatory response is what? That is diffused endothelial injury, vasodilation and increased capillary permeability. This increased capillary permeability and diffuse endothelial injury is mainly responsible for vasodilation and misdistribution of the blood. This misdistribution of the blood is mainly responsible for organ hypoperfusion. Just see this point, misdistribution of blood flow. This misdistribution of blood flow is responsible for organ hypoperfusion. Once organ hypoperfusion is there, so it is mainly responsible for multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, and that is the main concept behind the shock. The shock is responsible for multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, that is due to the organ hypoperfusion. And why organ perfusion takes place, we have already seen in this flowchart. Now multi-organ dysfunction syndrome progressively shows some physiological effects. First is the cardiac depression is there, low blood pressure, hypotension, faster heart rate, and second is respiratory distress, difficulty in breathing, in ventilation also, and third is the renal failure, and fourth is dissemination intravascular coagulation. So as a result of these four, macro and microvascular changes, insufficient supply of oxygen is there, which occurs due to hypoxemia, which causes the cell death and further result in the end organ failure. And like this, every organ failure is there up to a sequential manner, in a sequential manner. So we can find out a syndrome that is called as multi-organ dysfunction syndrome. So many organ functioning affected by this macro and micro vascular changes. Now, how we will approach to the patient in shock? First, our approach is with the history of the patient. What history we will see? Recent illness, fever, chest pain, abdominal pain, comorbidities, medication, toxin injections, recent hospitalization and surgery, baseline mental status, infectious source. And the second approach to the patient is the physical examination of the patient, vital signs, CNS, mental status, skin, the color of the skin, temperature of the skin, rashes on the skin, sores on the skin, and in case of cardiovascular system, the heart sound, cardiorespiratory monitor, pulse oximetry, lung sound. In case of GIT, abdominal pain, rigidity, rebound in case of this kidney, the uh, urine output only. Now come to the pathophysiology of the shock. We have already studied in the previous slide, that is the inadequate perfusion, hypoperfusion. That is responsible for cell hypoxia. And cell hypoxia is responsible for energy deficit. So once in that individual area there is a less supply of the oxygen, less supply of the nutrient and the glucose, so energy deficit area is there. And due to this energy deficit, there is a accumulation of lactic acid and the fall in pH. This is the crucial point where the lactic acid accumulation is there and fall in pH is there, which is responsible for anaerobic metabolism within the body. And on another hand, lactic acid accumulation, fall in pH is responsible for metabolic acidosis. This metabolic acidosis is another crucial point which is responsible for vasoconstriction, and this vasoconstriction is responsible for failure of what? Failure of pre-capillary sphincters. Once pre-capillary sphincter failure is there, so there is a peripheral pooling of the blood. On another hand, this metabolic acidosis is responsible for cell membrane dysfunction and the failure of sodium pump. This failure of sodium pump is responsible for intracellular lysosome release digestive enzymes. So intracellular lysosome responsible for the efflux of the potassium, release of digestive enzyme responsible for the influx of the sodium and the water. On another hand, both of these are responsible for the toxic substance enter into the circulation. Once this toxic substance enters into the circulation, capillary endothelium damage is there, and this capillary endothelium damage is responsible for the destruction and dysfunctioning and the cell death. See the microcirculatory pathophysiology, that is mean arterial pressure is depend on two variables, cardiac output and systemic vascular resistance. Both are the very important point that in the pathophysiology that we have to see in case of the shock. Minimum arterial pressure in shock will drop to less than 70 mm of Hg. Whereas the alpha-1 receptor mediates the vasoconstriction, beta-2 receptor mediates the vasodilation. Norepinephrine act on alpha-1 receptor is the most important in case of this shock, which is fundamental pathway in the reduced perfusion pressure. Now, in microcirculation, some other vasoconstriction substance is there like angiotensin 2, vasopressin, endothelin 1, thromboxane E2, and circulatory vasodilators are also there, prostaglandin I2 and nitric oxide. Pathophysiology of cardiovascular response is some ventricular filling, preload, ventricular ejection, that is afterload, myocardial contractility, cardiac output, stroke volume, and the heart into heart rate, that is cardiac output. Myocardial compliance is impaired in shock. Some additional thing is there. So, myocardial compliance also there with that of the shock, that is due to ischemic conditions also. So we have to consider this myocardial compliance with that of the shock as an important pathophysiology. Decreased preload, increased filling pressure will lead to the secretion of BNP. That increased filling pressure is very important, which lead to the secretion of BNP. So what is BNP? BNP is nothing, is a type of natriuretic peptide which is a hormone and primarily secreted by ventricular myocardium. Why it gets secreted? Once there is a stress on the wall on myocardium due to the volume expansion and the pressure overload, there is a release of the BMP. So this is one of the important cardiovascular response pathophysiology behind the stroke. Now hypodynamics of the shock is, see in this chart, three type of shock is there: hypovolemic, cardiogenic and distributive. The main feature of hypovolemic shock is the decrease in pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, and in cardiogenic shock the important feature of this shock is the decrease in cardiac output. Another type of the shock is there, distributive shock. The main feature of this distributive shock is the decrease in systemic vascular resistance. So different therapies there. For hypovolemic shock we are using IV fluids. For cardiogenic shock to treat this we are using inotropes, revascularization, and in distributive shock either septic or neurogenic we are using pressure agent and the IV fluids. Now another important pathophysiology of this shock, pulmonary response. So there is an increase in pulmonary vascular resistance, tachypnea, decreased tidal volume and increased dead space, and minute ventilation. And in renal response, acute tubular necrosis, that is the damage of nephric cells of the kidney. Nephrons of the kidney will damage. So in short, all due to all this we can see the consolidated pathophysiology: elevated lactate or pyruvate ratio, significant rise in the triglyceride level, increase in the protein catabolism, increase in the production of the glucose. Now pathophysiology of inflammatory response also. In anaphylactic shock and some infectious diseases, some inflammatory response also we have to consider in case of the shock. So the pathophysiology of this is activation of the complement cascade is there. Either inflammatory cascade may be classical or altered pathway. Mostly altered pathway is there. Activation of coagulation pathway, activation of eicosanoid, cyclooxygenase derived prostaglandins, thromboxane E2 and cysteine leukotrienes. And another very important fact is there is the factor, that is tubal necrotic factor alpha, which mainly causes hypotension, lactic acidosis and respiratory failure, is very important that we have to consider in case of the shock. And with this TNF alpha, interleukin 1b, interleukin 1b, a cytokine which causes the vascular congestion, cellular infiltration and metabolic derangements. So thank you for the day, and we will see the part 2 of the same chapter next.